All right, so let's start with the roll call.
Noel Crouch,
Present.
Justin Houston, James Kroom,
Present.
Jesse, Jesse Gregg, Mike Kruger, Corey Quinn,
Here.
Audrey Yonkis,
Here.
Tom Muth,
Here.
Ray Walsh.
Here.
I apologize. I'm getting feedback from the YouTube, so I'm going to turn that off so that it doesn't mess me up. Okay, guys. All right, you have quorum, Ms. Chairperson.
All right, so let's first I want to thank you guys all for being here today, as this is the third DMB meeting held via Zoom. There's always something, so thank you everybody for your patience. All members of the public will have a chance to address the board during public comment. In terms of process for this meeting, each board member will be called on individually to speak during each item. Board members are asked to please state their name before speaking, making a motion, etc. All board members may say pass if they do not have a comment for that item. All votes will be taken by roll call, meaning that our secretary, Amy, will call each board member's name and will indicate their vote as a or no on each item. So I think we're all set. I want to move to approval of the agenda.
I have no change to the agenda.
I'll move to approve. That was Kroom.
Second.
Walsh.
It is moved by Kroom and seconded by Walsh.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Or we have to do a
Oh,
roll call
roll
vote.
call.
We have to do a
Crouch,
roll call vote. Yes.
Kroom,
Yes.
Quinn,
Yes.
Yonkis,
Yes.
Muth, Tom Muth. Do we need to unmute you?
Yes.
Ray Walsh.
Yes.
Excellent. The agenda passes.
Great. So we can move on to approval of the May 27th meeting minutes.
Scroll down for a moment so people have a moment to review them.
Walsh, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Andrianka.
Okay, and I'll do a roll call vote. Crouch,
Yes.
Kroom,
Yes.
Quinn,
Yes.
Yonkis,
Yes.
Muth,
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Excellent. The motion passes. Okay, we can now move on to the May Treasurer's Report. Just a couple of items. It was, as we all know, given the COVID-19 pandemic, there was not much business that occurred. Essentially, that we are still pending one final sponsorship for the Great Pumpkin Walk from the School of Rock. And so that's for $100. We will try to recoup that before June 30th. And the only other expenditures for the month of May were the direct work order salaries and the computer rental. I did just want to point out, I know that this was a topic of discussion during our last board meeting, but I did just want to point out to everyone that as it stands, because as a reminder, we simply didn't, have two fundraising activities. So as it stands right now, we are estimated to take approximately $1,911.71 out of our fund balance. The budget would remain whole, but just by about $100. So I just wanted to continue to bring that to everyone's attention, but we are on track to balance the budget. Obviously, City Council, as was mentioned at the last board meeting, approved the special assessment. And so you will have new funds that are funneling in July 1. The finance department provides that to us beginning then, because they assume that they will, collect all the special assessment funds. So that new budget of $44,407 will take effect July 1. And during your July board meeting, I will certainly present an end of year budget estimate. In addition to, you will see the new budget that the board had approved. So, if anyone has any questions, I am happy to answer them at this time. Are there any questions? Okay. All right.
I think if nobody has any questions, we need to approve.
Nope, you don't need, you don't need to formally vote on it. You just adopt it during the meeting. Okay. Very good. So the next agenda item report is the recommendation that you limit 2 minutes to public comment. This is obviously via our virtual platform Zoom. It is at the recommendation of the city attorney's office. And so, during all the virtual meetings we've held so far for the city, we have tried to limit public comment to 2 minutes. So it's just the general process that we're trying to follow. So if the board wishes to entertain that motion, we would call for a motion in a second for that.
So moved, Walsh.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second. Crouch.
Crouch. Okay. And the roll call vote. Crouch.
Yes.
Kroom.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Yonkis.
Yes.
Muth.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Excellent. That passes, Madam Chairperson. And so now you're on to public comment period. I will review and can tell you that we actually have no one joining us today for public comment. So you can simply open it up to see if anyone from the board wishes to share anything, but there is no one on the line to share public comment at this time.
All right. Does anybody else have anything to say? No? Okay. I think we can move on then.
Okay, excellent. We can then move on to new business. So before you this morning is consideration of what we are affectionately calling summer nights in downtown East Lansing. The intent here is, just so that everyone is aware, last night City Council reviewed and considered a dining concept. Essentially what this would involve is taking Albert Avenue and shutting it down so that it is essentially a pedestrian promenade temporarily from where the entry and exit way is of the new parking garage along Albert Avenue to MEC. So there would be seating placed there, not only some small tables and chairs, but some picnic tables. And the intent here is to obviously have it be an inviting atmosphere for people to come to downtown East Lansing. We are also working with businesses so that they can, particularly the DDA and City Council, so that they can extend their patio spaces, because as you can imagine with limited occupancy now, we're obviously trying to accommodate them and make that feasible. So kind of in tandem with all this, it is the recommendation and consideration of the board today to, it's a recommendation of staff consideration of the board today to consider sort of enhancing this and maybe marketing this a bit. One idea that has been floating around is the concept of really trying to utilize Ann Street Plaza, because when you consider that is obviously one of our major public venues, it's a raised stage area, it might provide for a nice opportunity to do some events and promotion. So there are sort of three facets to this idea. Number one is that the DMB would ask the DDA for funds of up to $10,000 in order to do three things: manage a weekly live entertainment in Ann Street Plaza. The intent is that this would be kind of family-friendly programming. I know I've talked to several board members about this. It would essentially, we were thinking that it could have family-friendly components. So for example, on Tuesdays, there used to be in the summer something called Play in the Park, and there were sort of children's programming. It's not yet canceled. And so if we were interested, we might be able to take some of those acts and move them into Ann Street Plaza. And usually what it is things like magicians, there's like Zeke the Wonder Dog, things like that that could be, you know, handled on the stage area and so still allow for the social distancing that you know is still recommended. So that's kind of one facet. So all of that would essentially begin the second week of June and then roll for 8 weeks through the end of August. The second would be the request for a right-of-way. So this would allow the Downtown Management Board, via funding from the DDA, to rent 50 6-foot banquet tables for a time period of 8 weeks. Essentially what we would do is offer them to the businesses on a first come, first served basis for free. We would essentially, you know, rent them from whatever events group, you know, provided the lowest quotation. We would rent them from them and then give them to the businesses. And the hope is that the businesses would then use the tables for sale or promotion. So think of it like Welcome Back Week or sidewalk sales. I don't know if we necessarily feel strongly that the businesses need to provide an actual sale, but I think we're just trying to, you know, really inspire sort of a community engagement atmosphere through that facet. And then third is the idea of marketing it, obviously, and promoting it. In your packet materials, you did have some thoughts or some ideas from the public relations firm Piper and Gold, and that's really in two facets. I think from staff's viewpoint, we could do one of two things. We could obviously either market it ourselves and adjust the budget accordingly, right? Maybe we spend more on events and a little less on marketing or vice versa. Another facet that Piper and Gold did provide you with, however, is that, you know, as things are opening up, is there a need for some public relations to promote the individual businesses? We think that individual businesses, for example, might want some mock press releases, might want some verbiage to go on social media that they could send out, might like a toolkit with ideas on how they could, you know, scope their messaging so that it is about, you know, how they are, you know, inviting and wanting everyone to come down and support them post COVID-19. So the initial recommendation from staff, if you did decide to move forward, would be to consider those three items. One idea we had was to perhaps do about $5,000 in programming in Yan Street Plaza, perhaps $2,000 then for the rental of the tables and the slip covers. And the slip covers are like tablecloths, but they're actually washable, so you can wipe them off and they adhere directly to the tables. So we thought that that might be a good alternative to constantly trying to have to, you know, wash tablecloths. And then 3 would be obviously the marketing and promotion. So that is the proposal before you today. Again, it would be a request to the DDA to consider. They meet tomorrow. So if the board does feel strongly about it, we would make an ask of them, staff. I would prepare a memo to them to be considered. So again, the thought process right now is $10,000, and I'm happy to answer any questions and obviously hear board members' thoughts at this time.
Do we remind me about the summer concerts? Are those scheduled on different nights and going forward?
Sure. So the summer concert series is Friday nights. It begins the second week of July, so July 12th. So that is why, as staff, we thought that we would maybe kick everything off at the you know, same time. We could either do something that first week of July, so July 6th. We could maybe do something during the week. So it'd be the same week that some concert series kicks off, Jim, is what we're kind of thinking. We would start our programming and they would do it. So every Friday night for 8 weeks is that's built in. We, DMB, are the premier sponsor of it. So we're already going to have Friday night.
And then the tables are for use by businesses that are not right on the plaza, obviously.
Right, exactly. Along Grand River or along Albert. Yep. And obviously they have to meet ADA accessibility requirements. Yeah. But I, you know, any of the cross streets could have them. Yep. MAC division.
So
Audrey.
for the tables, are people allowed to use their own, or is it you kind of want like an identifier to make sure that it's East Lansing businesses selling the goods downtown? Or could they like take their own table out and use their own thing if say we ran out of table?
Yeah, I think our ask of city council, actually the city manager's office, would be just the request for the use of right of way. I'm personally not opposed if businesses have a cute little table they want to, you know, put out, and our request would be the use of the sidewalk to city council. I think our thought was that if we offered them the tables, it's a way that if they don't have a table, that we would rent it on their behalf and be a cost savings for them and incentivize them to do it. But I'm certainly not opposed as long as they meet the ADA
This is Muth.
if they put something out of their own.
This is Muth here. I think having some tables available is not a bad idea. 50 seems like an awful lot, though.
I agree.
I think that, we could probably get away with 20 or so, and you're just fine.
Okay. So maybe adjust the budget and put
I-
money we wouldn't spend
yeah,
on
I-
50 towards programming or marketing.
Yeah, this is Ray. I agree. I think 20 would be fine. We can
Okay.
always add more later if we find out we're short.
Do we have to rent the tables up front, or can we rent them on a like sign up needed form?
Yeah, so I did call Deluxe Tents is a company we have worked with. Again, we'd have to have a company's bid, but I did call them, and generally what they require, Chanel, is for us to make like an initial commitment. We save money if we say deliver them to one spot, right? So my thought process was whether we order 20 or 50, we say, like, for example, deliver them to the parking garage. We as staff will keep them there, and then we would move them elsewhere, but it's not a problem. Generally, what would happen is they'll just charge us a delivery fee. If they only deliver it once, they usually waive a delivery fee because we're good customers. If we have to order more than once, they'll just charge us a nominal delivery fee, and we can certainly budget for that. So,
Okay. And the only other thing, so this would just be kind of a proposal for what we would be thinking of using the money, or is this is exactly how we are going to use it? And like, is this budget like firm the way that it's split up like this?
well, I think that that's up to the board. I think it would be my recommendation that the board would at least solidify much of the ask. So I think we could, I think the ask to DDA needs to be $10,000, right, to support, downtown business activities that promote patronage of, East Lansing. I might recommend that if you want to lump a couple of things together, like maybe you could say activity 1 and 2 will be $7,000 or $8,000, and the marketing promotion would be 2. I think that would probably be acceptable, but I think that having kind of an overall understanding of what would be most helpful, so that if the DDA asks me questions, I can, so.
So is there couple things? Is there any thought to using maybe one of the weeks a different space, like the surface parking lot down the road? Then secondly, did staff think about, I see some other options, other budget options. Can we think about asking the DDA for even more money? Because there's no more important time than now for us and the DDA to refocus funding on getting businesses and downtown going, rather than, sort of bringing new people in. So it could be, maybe the DDA would adopt that kind of viewpoint and propose even more money. And then,
Sure.
and then just like any other thoughts of what we could do. Those 3 things, I guess, are my questions. And can we use our own, and can we use part of our own next year's budget? Because it starts in July.
Yes, we can. So this was just, the reason this is on our agenda is we wanted to start potentially doing stuff at the very beginning of July, when we wouldn't have a meeting before that to kind of do this. So we needed to get the money to ask so that we have funds so that we can do something over the next month to prepare for the start.
Yeah.
But this does not have to just end at the $10,000. I would say, I think we can look at our budget after we kind of figure out what DDA is going to give us and kind of make a bigger plan. I like the idea of doing something throughout the summer to encourage it. I had also brought up the idea of doing like a welcome back to downtown East Lansing, kind of like 3-day kind of festival. So it would be spread out, so it's not a lot of people all at once, kind of like doing something in July that goes along with like doing like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and have like more roads closed than just the promenade area. So, because we lost all the festivals where restaurants can be outside and people can be outside shopping, and kind of make it the art festival kind of feel, but obviously less people, less vendors, less type of thing, just like the people downtown Lansing, and have music. So we could do some sort of also like big push for one specific weekend, I think maybe at the beginning, so people know that stuff is open. That's the other thing, because people may come in August, at the end of August, for the first time or something. You know, if we were able to do some sort of bigger focus
Mhm.
all the summer, I think that that would be helpful too.
And we can probably tell the DDA, look, our budget is so tiny that, and it's already committed to downtown activities. In essence, that's what we do. And so that's the other reason for the ask for the money, for whatever amount it ends up being. And I hope it's higher than 10,000, but yeah.
What if we ask for 12,000?
Yeah, well, Jim, what would you recommend?
I don't know what the DDA budget looks like. I'd have to take a look at it. I don't know. We have to have a need for it. I mean, I intrinsically believe that we would be able to spend 15 or 20 in good fashion, but obviously we need to have uses for it to tell them. In this portrayal, we just have sort of increased marketing proposal that we could use with Piper and Gold. But the 3-day ideas is a good one. We could propose money for that. And yeah, I would consider asking them for more. They can always give us less.
I think that we should maybe ramp up like activities and performances and stuff. I think that would be a good place. I don't know if it's a little bit distracted, so Chanel might have just said that, but I think that would be a good ask, because we're only planning on doing what, like maybe something Tuesday and Friday, Amy, or?
Right now, yeah. So right now it would be about the $5,000. It's about $625 a performance is sort of what was staff estimated. So right now the current budget is one additional performance a week. So right now we would talk about programming twice a week in Ann Street out of a different element of our budget, not this particular project proposal. You're already paying for Friday night concerts. So let's say a Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday. Certainly we could talk about, adding to performances, and we could also, to Jim's point, we could talk about trying to, make it at different locations. The spot behind Peanut Barrel, that would really just require coordination from Caleb. That might be a loss of potential revenue for parking. So I can't speak to, how that might be received, but we can certainly talk about it, especially if it's one concert or, 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
Right.
That
So
might be.
what could we add another $5,000? So to leave the budget kind of how it is, I think we can adjust the tables to kind of reallocate that.
Sure.
If
Sure.
we took some funds out of that and added it to activity 1, because I think that the more money spent on fun stuff, somebody comes down the first week in July, then they may come down every other week if they have a great time, right? So I think the activities and that type of thing is important. So to reallocate whatever funds we take away from the table rentals to activity 1 and then add another $5,000. And could it be like activity 4 and it says the development of either larger scale, like, because obviously right now we'd have to do a lot more research and we have to get this asked in now. Could it be like an or statement that's like either to expand on the weekly programming to add more days or larger acts, or a larger scale one-time event that is geared towards welcoming people back to East Lansing?
Yeah, that's good, Chanel. Kind of a number 4 other category, and then give those 2 things as examples. And they might be comfortable leaving it to our discretion, having these examples in front of them, and those 2 examples you gave in category 4 or the other or discretionary category.
Yeah.
I think this is good, but I think that we also need you to this proceed very carefully when we're talking about, a 3-day festival or large events. I mean, feel good right now, but we're not out of the woods with this. And when I hear things about like large events, that concerns me a little bit. I think that we should be focusing on things that are longer duration and more spread out through the summer than big highlighted events, personally.
Yeah, and in the number 4 category, it gives us time to explore that, because that's a good point.
Right.
And
That's
we may run into a roadblock, yeah, and do more spread out events rather than a big one.
I know I had talked to some of the people at DDA and they were interested in kind of doing something as like, whether it's in August, I don't know. That's what we have to look at what it is. But I mean, the students are coming back in September. Like eventually there's going to be more people in East Lansing. It's going to turn, there's going to be a switch to life from now to life, what it's going to be like when more people are back. So whatever day or whatever, however that looks, that's why I'm saying to kind of leave it up in the air, to do more research, to figure out what the best use of the funds is, but to offer them options of a welcome, down to East Lansing, even if it's a week-long thing where there's different stuff going on, just kind of like a bigger focus push in terms of a time. Or we can then spread it out. If that doesn't work out, we can add it into activity 1 and make it a bigger scale thing, more days of the week or whatever. It just offers them the ability to see like, these are the options they're looking at. It's not so defined. And then we're not super constrained, because if we decide we want to do something in August or something like that, we have the ability to do that. I think because we're living in such an unknown right now, we need the funds to be able to help businesses in downtown East Lansing survive, because that is a huge issue right now. That I think less constraints on what is going to happen because there's so many unknowns is better. So if we provide more options and then figure out as we go kind of the best way to use those within the options we give, I think is probably the smartest idea.
So kind of phrase it like, our initial proposal is 8 weeks, but please understand that we're also going to research and potentially like in August or September when the students return, look into a welcome back week concept, or extend our programming for the 8 weeks. I mean, that could go 12 weeks, for example, because my understanding is that they're going to shut down Albert Avenue through the end of October. So we have more time for programming.
Just so that we can have extra discretionary funds as time goes on to figure out how things are working, what's not working, where we need to put more money, or if we need to do something on a larger scale.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just ran some quick math while folks were talking. So if we tried to like do tables and chairs, it adds up to about $880. So I would recommend that maybe we for like $1,000 for the table slipcover concept, and then add it into the programming. It would be my recommendation if that's what the board might like. So maybe switch that from 2,000 to 1,000, and then, so then perhaps it becomes 6,000 and 1,000 there. And then, I don't know. The other idea to consider is, did you like the concept? Do we feel like there's a need to partner with public relations firm Piper and Gold, or do we feel that we would like to do our own marketing of the event, and, kind of how the board is feeling about that?
I feel strongly that we should be using a public relations firm, because this is a really complex issue. We need to think through from a public relations perspective, how things are advertised, and I don't have the time right now or the expertise, and I don't think anybody else here really has a lot of time to delve into exactly how things should be advertised for this and the right way to do it. I think that public relations firms can be very important in times like this, when you're trying to reopen and make people feel comfortable and safe and all of the above.
I agree, Chanel, Jim, and we
I
professionals at this.
This mood. Yeah, I agree that we should use them for the advertising. Amy, you had brought up the possibility of having them develop toolkits and webinars and things like that. I personally don't feel like that is necessary. After dealing with this for 3 months now, I've been to so many webinars and things about reopening businesses. I feel like there's so much material out there right now that we don't need anything specifically for East Lansing. But yeah, I agree that for the actual creation of the advertising for anything we're doing down here, that Piper and Gold would be a good choice.
I agree, and with Tom, I don't know that we need to really promote a lot of that other stuff. We need to promote downtown East Lansing, and having it small events or large events, it doesn't matter that much. They can get some of their advice, and we can certainly have our own opinions on it. But ourselves don't have enough time really to put our own interest in it that much. We just can't. We really need some other people to help us, I think.
So Amy, what would we do? So it sounds like people agree on Piper and Gold, and I do too. We have to act like a big city and act like this is serious and get professionals involved. This is important. We're losing businesses. And and would we just take one of the Piper and Gold options and plug it in? Is that what you're thinking, Amy? They have different price options?
Right. My recommendation would be this. According to Kate, so Kate's sort of minimum project basis, and we've never done this little, is $3,000. So I would recommend, now that we know that if the DDA, approves this tomorrow, I would recommend that we work with Kate to say, okay, we have a $3,000 budget, because that's the minimum, or perhaps you want to ask for more, but let's say $3,000. We would like for you, please, to help market the event, right? So come up with sort of a look and image brand, help market the event, do social media buys. And then, but if there are other elements that you guys want to see, like it's sounding perhaps like not, but if you do want like a toolkit or anything like that for businesses, I would try to negotiate that. But if you strictly just want, events management and heavy social media, and I don't know if you guys, for example, want signage or posters to put in business windows or something of that nature, I would work with her on that.
I think that nix the toolkit, because I think we're now more into figuring out how to, get business back, not necessarily to survive at this point. People figure out what has worked, what is, we're so far in the middle of it. It's not at the beginning, but I think that what the most important thing is messaging. I really think that she needs to help us create the best. That to me is at the top of my list, is the messaging and how it is portrayed, what she thinks the most responsible, the way it's going to be received the best. That's like number one on my list, is her to frame the messaging from a PR perspective, so that people feel safe and comfortable. And of our social media, and it depends on how much budget is left to then do the social media buys, to do the other stuff, but whatever she comes up with can be pushed out ourselves on our social media channels. It all depends on funding, right? But the most important thing to me is the messaging and how it should be framed and the imaging of it.
And so the messaging is coming down to coming back to East Lansing, correct? That's our focus. Versus, and then whatever's left for the events, or are you thinking more heavy event messaging? You see what I'm asking? Do we want Kate to focus on like, it is safe to come back, support local?
Yeah, but it can be both. Like, things are happening in downtown East Lansing, visit these pages. So yes, we can still advertise the summer programming, but I think that it needs to be like framed all together.
Okay.
Yeah, safe and fun and exciting.
Okay.
So Piper and Gold with 8 weeks gets it up to 9, 10, 11, 12, like 13,000. Plus the other 2 categories and the squish funds, we'd be at 20 if we do 8 weeks with them. But I kind of do like just giving us, however big the slush fund is, I shouldn't use that word, but our optional funds, they have enough examples here, the DDA does, that they can get an idea of what we're thinking, and then we design it. They fund it and we design it within these parameters somehow.
Amy, do you know what kind of turnaround Kate would to get if we got the approval tomorrow, when would we actually?
Tom, you're cutting in and out. I don't know. Is everybody else having kind of a hard time hearing Tom?
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm asking what is the turnaround time for if we get the funds, for what type of PR, what her turnaround time is.
Right.
What
Kate's turnaround time is? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that I did talk to Tom and Heather about this concept, obviously, before I brought it to you for the DDA liaison perspective. And here's kind of what I know. I know that there are approximately $13,000 in funds remaining in like the developer money that we have been tapping into historically, as you all recall. So like when Center City and Park District were, being developed and we entered into agreements with them, we, the city, entered into agreements with them. There were funds that had to be used to promote the downtown. I think the interest would be to try to tap into the $13,000 for sure. And then, other sources, because there might be other sources. I think in terms of when we would get the money from the DDA, the answer is very quickly. That it would essentially just be a fund transfer, because I also asked the question of, do you have money still existing in this fiscal year, right before June 30th? And the answer was yes. So.
So there's unallocated funds in this year's budget.
That's what I
I don't know
understand.
to what number or what extent, but that is my understanding. I know that there's
We want all of
13,000.
that.
I know that for sure. I know that there's 13,000. So.
We want it all.
Jim wants it all. Well, I appreciate that, DDA liaison. So.
But you're going to be there to explain this tomorrow. Sorry.
Okay, so I mean, are we
Should we
at,
ask for 13? Do you guys want more than that?
You should ask for 20.
I think 20.
and whatever they give us, they give us. I don't know. You go in too low,
Okay.
you don't hire. Rarely.
But we've seen how we can use the 20. It's not going to go to waste. It's a
No,
really
I know,
it's a
right?
minuscule amount for what we've been through.
Yeah, it's really not that much money considering the revenues lost for businesses in downtown time frame and continually through the summer. So I don't know. So do you want us to make a motion and then, or do you need more information on how it should be written up?
I think if anybody has feedback on, so I'm kind of understanding that we want 4 areas of funding. Do you have specific asks you would like for me to make in terms of, activity 1 would be $8,000, activity 2 is $1,000, activity 3 is, $4,000, or do you just want staff to kind of estimate that for the board?
I think these are examples that we've given, and
Okay.
staff would estimate that, and
Okay.
we would have flexibility and discretion within these 4 categories
Okay.
to intelligently allocate it.
Okay, and so just to clarify, I just want to make sure that I have a good understanding when I'm presenting to DDA. We would like money for programming in Ann Street Plaza, money for the request of right-of-way and then support to the businesses to do that, marketing and promotion with a contract agreement with Piper and Gold, and then a discretionary fund so that we can either look into creating a mini festival activity or enhance programming at Ann Street Plaza.
Can we change it from just Ann Street Plaza? Can it be like Ann Street
Downtown.
Plaza, other downtown locations so that
Well, just something within the
if we
DME
put
district.
for musicians in an alleyway, like that's still you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep, like buskers, sure.
Yeah.
I can use those
just so that
examples.
we aren't tied to only Plaza. We may only do that, but I don't want to be tied
Sure.
to that limitation.
Sure.
Mhm.
To create entertainment within the DMV district.
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I would recommend that there's a motion considered for, if you like the $20,000, for a request to the Downtown Development Authority for up to $20,000.
That motion.
Second.
Muth will second.
Okay.
Does anybody have any discussion on this further? Everybody good to go for a roll call vote, I think?
Okay. Chair Crouch,
Yes.
James Kroon,
Yes.
Audrey Youngus,
Yes.
Tom Booth,
Yes.
Ray Walsh,
Yes.
Corey Quinn.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
It's easy to ask for money.
Right.
All righty.
Okay. So in terms of next steps, what staff will do is I will prepare a memorandum to the Downtown Development Authority today. I will send it off to Tom Fehrenbach and Heather Pope for consideration. I know that he is on the line, and not to put him on the spot, but we also have a new staff member, Adam Cummins, who will be who has joined our planning and economic development team. So Adam will also be involved. I'm sure that you all will meet him and start working with him closely.
Hey, everybody.
So,
Thanks, Amy.
so Adam, you're welcome. So Adam will be the new community economic development administrator. So the former role that Tom Fehrenbach had before he became director of the planning department. So he's going to work closely with DMB and DDA. You know, he's kind of joining us with Zoom meetings, and he and I met a couple of days ago and kind of brought him up to speed with DMB activities. So
Right.
I will prepare the memorandum, send it off to the DDA. Obviously, I will keep you all updated. Why don't we plan on Friday? You all will hear back from me. I will send an email to the board letting you know what the DDA decides. And we will take it from there. And then if we receive funding, then obviously staff will work really quickly. McKenna and I will work quickly to, you know, start getting some programming in place. Like I mentioned, there is a possibility to maybe partner with the recreation department so we can get some fun, family-friendly stuff, you know, transition to the downtown quickly. So,
No pressure, Adam. Just
None
get
at
this
all.
through. Just get this through.
Do everything I can to help.
I'll vote yes tomorrow.
Oh, there we go.
there you go.
Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Very excited to come aboard. I think you guys had some excellent ideas and discussion today. Great.
Alrighty, so on that note, are we ready to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Alrighty. I'll second.
Move seconds.
Thanks
We'll
for-
do roll call vote again.
Thanks for putting this together, Amy.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Well, wait, I have to do roll call vote. You have to vote to adjourn, and believe me, it's not that easy. John.
Ah,
Ms. Crouch.
Yes.
Mr. Muth.
Yes.
Mr. Kroom.
yes.
Mr. Quinn.
Yes.
Ms. Yonkis.
Yes.
Mr. The motion passes unanimously.
Walt. Yes.
All right, all. So that'll be my game plan. I will update you on Friday. I will send you on an email to let you know where we're at. And McKenna and I will get going. As a reminder, City Hall will be open to the public beginning Monday. I think that we are still finalizing kind of what that looks like, but just so you're aware, it will be open Monday. City Hall is going to start to be open Monday through Thursdays. It will be closed on Fridays. So that won't affect us, hopefully, for future meetings. I'm sorry I don't have any good answers yet on how we're going to be designing future meetings, but I know that they'll be safe, and we'll either continue with Zoom for a temporary basis or we'll start meeting in person. So that's what I have for you in terms of updates. So thank you all for taking part
Sorry
in.
for blowing this in your lap last minute, but you did great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.